Well, this week I've written an open letter to Christian churches, so it's probably going to read better when you get it tomorrow, but hopefully it will work out in this format too. All right. Dear Christian Church worldwide, all denominations, it's been an interesting couple of thousand years, and I'd say that you've had a good run, but that's not entirely true now, is it? Sure, in the early days, you formed communities of people who took care of each other. You organized community hospitals and schools, and quickly became town centers, especially in Europe. But everything evolves, and your denial of that fact was an early indicator that you were already on life support. This will be a difficult letter for you to read, but I'm writing it because I love you enough to tell you the cold, hard truth. You need to change. Right now, or you're going to die. What are you waiting for, church? Why aren't you adapting to a new world with new spiritual needs? Most of us adjust our daily diets when we learn new information about nutrition. Like when our doctor tells us, if you don't stop guzzling Cheese Whiz for every meal, you're going to have a heart attack. Well, we might actually stop guzzling Cheese Whiz for every meal. The doctor has been telling you, church, to change your diet for decades. Yet, still you hunker down and insist that somehow not changing is changing. So I guess it's time for some tough love. Your congregations wither in direct proportion to young people's contempt for the historical horrors of organized religion and the irrelevance of superstitious theologies demanding fealty to an institution, not to God, not even to faith in humanity. Pedophile priests, extorting evangelicals, an almost complete lack of historical context concerning the Bible, its people, and its Jewishness, institutional racism, anti-Semitism, and misogyny, the insistence that everyone except believers are going to hell, the hate spewing and violence against our LGBTQIA+ friends and family members, lousy Bible translations, and biblical literalism have driven nearly everyone with a scintilla of reason out of the church. And yet, I suspect even as you read this, you're having another piece of substitutionary atonement cake and listening to the old rugged cross, perhaps the worst piece of pseudo-theological BS in a hymnal full of theological BS. My beloved church, you're so stuck in nostalgia that you're not thinking about how harmful your words are to postmodern ears, much more finely attuned to God's universal love of all people without exception, even if they're not Christians. God doesn't care about your religion. Get over it. You've lost nearly everyone, church. So many that those of us who recognize the promise of a more evolved church wonder if maybe we're just enabling your abusive nature. We're embarrassed to call ourselves Christians because we don't want to be associated with a religion that excludes people and preaches hate. And even though many of us have been prodding you for decades, I see you sitting there lamenting your loss while taking no responsibility for it. Instead, you blame the old tropes of changing times or secularism or liberals, conveniently and unironically choosing to ignore that Jesus was a liberal rebel change agent. Let me remind you that Jesus throws bankers out of the temple and tells people to organize outside the empire's economy and religious orthodoxy. It's societal conventions against which Jesus rebels. I'm simply asking you to do the same, which, since you call yourself his church and do everything in his name, seems an unnecessary ask. Yet here we are, me begging, and you dying. You also say that you want young people to come back to the church, but instead of providing them with the postmodern spiritual substance and community service opportunities they desire, instead of changing the liturgy so it's interactive instead of mind-numbingly dull, in fact, instead of avoiding words like liturgy, you try to feed them mindless, thoughtless pablum and continue to insist in a literal Bible and a God who sends people to heaven or hell at death. Instead of enlightening people, you try to entertain them, usually poorly, with pseudo-rock, pseudo-religious music that's no more than one phrase repeated 10,000 times with a spiritual sentiment just as rote and spiritually harmful as Onward Christian Soldiers, a song that never should have been written, much less performed in a church, a space that is supposed to be a sanctuary of love. What happened to your love, church? Where is our sanctuary? Perhaps sanctuary now lies outside the blind faith of organized religion. I'm discovering and creating unique groups of people organizing like Jesus for the common good and for our common God, as in God is for all of us. Millions of faithful people are rediscovering church beyond denominations and physical structures through personal relationships with other sojourners from every religious tradition and in organically forming groups. Today, we seek people to talk with honestly about our journeys, not to be told to believe or else. God is more personal than ever and speaks to us in every language, regardless of religion. Religion is a human, not a divine invention. God is neither traditional nor religious. God's a creative force. So God always provides a multitude of new ways for people to connect, not only to God, but more importantly, through God to each other. Few of us who follow Jesus today believe his is the only path to God. Most of us utilize many different spiritualities as we try our best to co-create a world of love, compassion, cooperation, and understanding. Our relationship with God develops in many ways, through Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, and Moses, through independent research, through mystical experiences, service to others, and lots of time in nature. There is no singular correct way to God, and no path toward God is incorrect. You might be wondering why I'm even bothering to write this letter. Why not just let you fade away, as seems the most probable outcome of your abusive and self-destructive nature? Well, what can I say? Because for all your faults, I've come to love you. I mean, when church works, it's a remarkable, transcendent, welcoming, safe space away from the fear-based world in which we live. Church is a sanctuary, and I know that you still have that welcoming, inclusive instinct buried within you, somewhere under all the millennia of Roman dogma, keeping you frozen in the carbonite of religious intolerance. I pray you'll find the strength to burst the shackles of the Orthodoxy, suffocating you out of existence. It's time for you to take a leap of faith. Where's your faith, church? Why won't you change? Why are you afraid when you proclaim trust in God? Do you think you're too old and set in your ways to welcome something new? You're never too old to change. God is a change agent. Remember, God sent 75-year-old Abram to a new place, telling him he'd receive more instruction when he arrived wherever he was sent. So Abram goes. Without question, he just goes off into the new. This is what you need to do, church. Just go off into the new. Trust God. Have even a bit of Abram's faith. The Lord said to Abram, "Leave your land, your family, and your father's household for the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation and will bless you. I will make your name respected, and you will be a blessing." Did I mention that Abram was 75 years old when he leaves without a clue for a new land? He wanders all over the place, raising camp and erecting temples at every stop. You need to be Abram, church. Right now, make camp, pray to God at homemade temples, break them down and move on. God is calling you into the unknown. Have Abram's faith and follow. Try something new. It might not work. It probably won't work. That's okay. Try something else. That might not work either. Fine. Keep trying. Be honest and upfront about trying new things. Let the world know that you're experimenting with new ways to sense God's love in the world. Don't claim to have answers you absolutely do not have. Instead, invite conversation and questions. Involve your communities, people in your neighborhoods, anyone you can think of. Do something, anything, and make it different, more meaningful, more postmodern, more conversational, much more logical and reasonable, and most importantly, more faithful to God's unconditional and universal love. Do it, church. Become the sanctuary of love that God and the world so desperately need. And do it now. Otherwise, I fear I might find myself soon delivering your eulogy, probably to an empty sanctuary. Our question to discuss today is, what does church mean to you?